2021 for the special meeting. First up will be entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Stacy, entertain a second.
Second.
Second by Crystal. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Said aye. Dave said aye. All right, next up will be 3.1, appoint temporary board clerk for August 30th, 2021, 6 p.m. Motion by Fred. Will be Amy McGill, by the way. Second. Second by Steve. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 7-0. Next up will be 4.1, COVID update, Dr. Ensley.
I'm going to do it up here. We have a few slides to show us. Just give me just a second here. Yes, thank you for taking the time to meet this evening. We arranged so we could review the district's status on quarantines, positive cases, talk about and review the protocol based on that. Just for the sake of comparison, we'll start kind of where we were a week ago with last week's numbers. You can see down here at the bottom, this was after a few days of school. Down to 99 total students, 7 staff quarantined, and then 16 students and 11 staff were positive. When you go today. Questions about that? I'm going to take us out today. And actually today's numbers were right at noon, so I think there's been a few additions here this afternoon. We've also added a couple of rows since we were allowing some daily testing. Added a couple rows there, so just so you're aware, the red row of daily testing, those are of the quarantine, it's not in addition to. So if you're looking at months in primary, you see 31 student quarantines. Of those 31, 2 are doing the daily testing, just as a reference. The other thing to notice is the totals down here. Our quarantine students have gone from what I think it was 99 last week to 193. Staff at 5, and then positives for students and staff right at 44 total. Also to note, some are not included in these quarantines are some teachers or staff that are at home watching their children that were isolated. Those aren't included in these numbers. I know the high school, there's 3 or 4 that are there taking care of the children and youngers that are at home in quarantine as well. So that is not reflected in these numbers. So I guess you can see the influx in our numbers here over the last week. Ultimately feel like it's important that we discuss this and look at what is in front of us right now. We have to acknowledge that these numbers are real. They have increased based on the quarantine requirements of Citrus County. Our nurses have worked very, very hard. Our principals have worked very, very hard. The school admin team in helping out Citrus County, and they're doing that very thoroughly. So I can't thank them enough for what they've done. But ultimately, this is where we're at. So I felt like it was time to arrange a meeting, and we all, or at least board president, agreed to that. So we are here. I think it's important to acknowledge, what can we do now to address this? What can we do as an intervention? And one thing that's in front of us is the mask question, obviously, and that's why we're here. Is if that's a way that we can prevent quarantines and reduce these numbers, we have to at least consider that. So that being said, if we look at the big picture and what's best for students, I know it's an inconvenience. I don't like masking the concept of it, but I do think if it's going to be and measure that we take that will help prevent quarantine to keep students in classrooms, I think we have to look at that. And so that's why we're here. We did try, to have a less restrictive start to the year. It was very nice to have that, but we did promise that we would continue to analyze and look at where we are and reevaluate. That's kind of takes us to our in-person instruction and continuity of services plan. And in that plan, which is under our district COVID resources on our website, we have to put that plan by federal requirement. And in that, we say, yes, we will continue to analyze, and as things progress, we have to look at that. So, that being said, I'm just here simply today to propose that we go back, readjust this to require masks for a certain period of time for all students and staff. And I will kind of show you this is our plan that's on the website. In red, I have put in what I'm proposing. And as you can see up top, the top paragraph is kind of a disclaimer of what this is for, where it's at. For our website, we have to post that. But as it said, the district will monitor and adjust plans, safety protocols on an as-needed basis. And this is me telling you today that I think it's needed to adjust this. Under the correct wearing of mask and universal masking at the May 24th board meeting, the board adjusted the district protocol to a recommendation for mask wearing while on district property. In red, I'm proposing that we adjust our protocol to require masks for all students and staff while inside school buildings. This will begin Wednesday, September 1st, to give people 24 hours to prepare, and will be reevaluated at the September 27th board meeting. Masks will be recommended for outdoor but not required, including recess and for extracurricular activities. It will not be required when students are actively engaged, preserving energy. This is essentially very similar to what we practiced last year. Parents and visitors in the building will be limited. Parents can conduct business in the office with a mask. If approved, we'll again allow mask exemptions with a doctor's note. And then once again, as we have stated in practice this year, all district vehicles, masks are required by federal mandate, or federal requirement. Did a lot of planning with the nurses, talked to our local physician, and they were in agreement with this, and the team's in agreement with this as well, as far as the admin team leadership. I'll also have an update KDHE grant whenever you guys are ready, but this is simply why we're here tonight, more or less.
Has the team looked at possibly the teachers in their classroom, if they're in front of the class, away from the students, if they could be unmasked to conduct the lessons, to see face and to see?
I talked it over with the nursing team, with a couple of principals. It was preferred that we just start with this, a black and white, while inside at all times. And that could be reevaluated. 27th meeting, we can think about that and how our numbers look at that time to see if maybe that's flexibility we can offer at that time. So, talking with the nurses and who do the contact tracing, who have kept up with numbers every day, I did ask the question, if we were in masks, what percentage of quarantines would have been prevented or reduced? Their answer was 50 to 75% would have not been included as a quarantine because of the mask, if there were masks. So.
Would we require masks for spectators to after-school events, after-hours events, such as volleyball?
For indoor volleyball, we practice as we did last year, which would be, we would require masks upon entry. And once spectators find their seats, we rely on them to honor that, but sometimes the mask will fall down if someone will go sit afar from the others. We still expect we're going to be mask police, but we will require upon entry. It's not a subject we all wanted to be here discussing, me included, but I feel like we're at that point. point. We've got too many students that are at a loss in instruction. So, to maintain that integrity, I feel like it is the best thing. I do too.
So I know when we talked a week ago, one of the things that we were interested in is obviously the testing availability and opportunities for multiple reasons. For current reasons, probably just simply availability because they're difficult to find right now. Do you have kind of an update on where we're at with
Yes,
ADHD?
we can do that now. We have started to receive some of the materials, so that came in late today. That was exciting. We don't feel like we're quite ready to get off the ground here this week. We're still short on staffing. We added 2 nursing positions. One of them will start Thursday. The other one has yet to be determined. So those are 2 buildings that will just be getting full-time nursing starting, 3 Thursday and then still working on the middle school. So that's a concern. So that, although we've started receiving some things, we're still waiting on some equipment, but we really feel like Tuesday, September 7th, when we return, we should be able to be in full operating status with the ADHD testing. I plan on sending out communication later this week based on that. Make certain we get what we need, so we'll be able to be off and running with that. So.
Dr. Coleman, Dr. Comer, do you have any additional thoughts as far as the timeline, asking for roughly 30 days, and then what you're seeing, what you can share?
Sure. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'd kind of prefer to not be in front of you guys again on this matter, but it is what it is. And so I know you have a great interest here, and parents that want to see their students safe, and administrators that want to see us conduct operations as best we can. So I did speak to Dr. Ensley several weeks ago, and we discussed going forward. And at that time, the mask optional guidance was something that we felt we could do safely. And we could implement that and initiate the school year. I did talk with Dr. Ensley, I talked to other board members, that we would have to pivot on that fairly quickly in the event that it needed to occur, and have a contingency plan. And I think that's where we find ourselves today. You know, there's been some kind of seismic changes here in just the last 6 weeks, and I'm here not only representing my own loved ones, but people I care for in the community, and then certainly or people I care for in the school, but then the community at large. And I understand that the question before you is, you know, can students be in school and not have to wear a face covering? But I implore you that it's well beyond that. It's about the community as a whole. It's about the safety of each individual. And right now, the hospitals are at a breaking point. I've tried to admit several patients and found a lot of resistance as a result. And these are patients that are not COVID patients, so we're seeing a collateral effect from this. You know, I won't bore you with a lot of details, but masks have been shown to reduce the transmission, okay, when they're worn correctly. All right, so let's just dispense with any misinformation. There's meta-analysis out there that show that when a mask is worn properly, it decreases the amount of aerosolization to that person that's close to you, and it is an effective way to reduce the incidence of spread. And part of layering together with vaccinations and social distancing and having a new kind of infection etiquette. If you're sick, you don't go to work. If your child's sick, they don't go to school, okay? So I can bore you with details if you like, but the fact of the matter is, when they're worn properly, there's a large meta-analysis that shows about 38% reduction, okay? When you take that to healthcare workers, it's about a 70% reduction. So to me, what that says is, when we really do wear the mask properly, and that means covering the nose and the mouth, because 70% of your exhaled air comes from your nose, they're effective, okay? But they are part of a strategy that needs to be layered, and we need to try to continue to adopt with vaccinations in the community, and social and physical distancing, and the targeted testing. And I think that's a great stretch, and I'm certainly welcome my services as far as that's required, okay? We are doing testing. I can tell you this, from my own personal standpoint, I was manning an urgent care this weekend, and we probably had about 7 positives come in out of about 30 cases. So you can kind of see what the positivity rate is. I mean, you can see it on the dashboard, but I think what we're seeing is we're not at that peak yet. Okay, so I really do believe that face covering indoors, universal, is the way to proceed. And I mean, if anybody wants to have an individual conversation on that matter, I'll give you my phone number. It's my personal cell number. Please reach out to me and we can discuss that matter. I'll discuss the merits of your position, and I'll discuss the merits of mine. Hopefully we can come to an understanding, but it's not about anything more than really what do we need to do to keep these young people in school. When you ask these young people, they want to stay in school, and they don't really care about the masks. The masks are not a big issue for them. What is an issue is staying with their friends, staying in their activities, and trying to conduct things as normally as they possibly can. So, you know, I saw no evidence of community spread of influenza last year. Why is that? Okay, and I'm sure I'm going to take some liberty in this, but I have no colleagues and virtually no one I've talked to as a healthcare professional that would disagree that a mask covering is a bad idea. Okay? The kids have adapted. I think it's where the parents and the adults have not yet been able to close that chasm. Okay? So, you know, on record, I think we should proceed. I think a 30-day trial basis to see where are we at that point. Where are we at with our quarantines? Where are we at with our positive numbers? Where are we at with the community? Okay? It's a different animal now with this Delta variant. And I know you guys are tired of hearing it. I want to usher it out just as quickly as you can. But for right now, we still got to have prudence and continue to stay, you know, disciplined. And that would be my recommendation. And like I said, I'd be happy to visit with anyone personally outside of this room. Feel free to call me.
Any other questions for Dr. Ensley? Okay, so we've got a recommendation from Dr. Ensley to require masks indoors from September 1st to September 27th, at which time we would reevaluate it at that regular board meeting. If anyone's got any more questions for either have a motion or not.
Mr. President, I would make a motion that we accept the masking recommendation from September 1st through September the 27th as presented, and reevaluate and continue with the other protocol, the hand washing, social distancing when we can. The side note is it's a tool in our toolbox to help us flatten the curve on this. And I think we need to take action and protect the safety of the kids in the education process and the community as a whole.
Motion by Fred. Second by Crystal. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-1. Next up will be motion for adjournment.
discussion? All in favor?